Up and ready to go.
You know me, I like to start on time.
Figured out how to disable that that bell of yours that you hear
Bill.
join and come in.
Oh, okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's start the meeting. Okay, so at 6 p.m. I'm doing that. I call the order of the Gearhart Planning Commission, Thursday, July 9th, 2026. All members of the commission are present, and Chad and Garrett are here for the staff. We have a consent agenda, the minutes of May 14th that have been adjusted. I didn't make the meeting last time because I wasn't here. The financial report, and we don't have any correspondence. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda with the improved and edited minutes?
Oh, wait.
Hello. Russ moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Jennifer. Any discussion or anything? Cool. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Okay. And I abstain because I was in here. Okay, reports. Staff. Chad, do you have anything to report to us?
I do. I wanted to give the planning commission a brief update on several things the city's been working on. First and foremost, our police department and our officers are safe. They went through quite an ordeal. Yesterday, they were involved. They're all in the middle of it, and we're considering working through that. No injuries on our part, and we are supporting those guys that were there to make sure that they get what they need. And
Can you tell us what this is about?
oh, I'm sorry. I'm assuming, yeah, you haven't been in my day all day? My apologies. So there was a BOLO went out, which is an attempt to locate for a person that committed potentially some terrible crimes, murder in the Tacoma area. And they pinged him in maybe cell phone or credit cards in Astoria and then Seaside. And they located him. And when he was not even really approached, but they were beginning the approach, our officers were shot at, and with a rifle, and our officers returned fire. Not sure exactly, everything after that, but that gentleman is deceased, and so they're working through all of the things that go along with that. Made me very much appreciate what they have to go through, and especially now that I've been through this perspective on how to protect your officers through that process. Very interesting. Law enforcement definitely deserves some kudos for the work they do, but he's safe, no injuries, and we're working through that with a great team of people throughout the entire community. So sheriff, all the departments, and the public have been bringing things all day long. So it's been nice. Yeah. Tonight, we're also going to be talking about the zoning amendment work that's moving forward. I'll leave that update to Mr. Garrett. We're also continuing to work through the beaches and dunes permitting process, especially around the vegetation removal and access issues and dune vegetation work. That work just keeps coming up, and people are wanting to do things out there. So we're working on our process to make sure it's clear, defensible, understandable to property owners. Trying to communicate that a little bit better as well. So more to come. Helila and McCormick Gardens area, that direction continues to be pretty active. There's two subdivisions going in, smaller, 8 houses and under for each one of them. And staff, we're working with consultants. We're reviewing issues like access, fire access, water service, fire flow, future water line looping. Fire flow and water line looping is something that we have had planned in that area, but now the plan has been brought right to the front because of these developments. So working on that situation. But long story short is the infrastructure changes we're going to make in there to make things flow better and to have better pressure are going to be better for the community all the way around. So it's a good project, but it is keeping us busy. The 13th Street and the kid property issue, we've been trying to keep the different issues separated. The legal review has not found an legally established public trail or public beach access route on 13th Street. This is where the fence came up. People were upset. The fence appears to be on private property. And separately, any beaches and dunes vegetation removal issue being handled is a code enforcement matter. We have issued some citations for some beaches and dunes mowing that shouldn't have occurred. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but so we're holding some folks accountable for that. The important part is that access, ownership, septic easements, dune vegetation, and all the other enforcements are separate issues, shouldn't be blended together. It's really a private property issue. If the condo association is upset that they don't have the access that they've had and those are difficult moving forward, that's going to be a civil matter between the two of them. But everything else that we have allowed, including the construction of the houses, the septic systems, the fence installation, and that were legal. And so we're moving on from that. We did get a lot of good information out of our process that we used with our attorneys, and we learned a few things as well. But the city did everything right in that matter. So we move forward. Thompson Creek is also moving forward. I don't know if some of you are aware of Thompson Creek. It's up Lewis and Clark Road. It's about 60 some acres that the city of Gearhart owns of forested land. It used to be our watershed back in the day when Gearhart had 200 residents. There was a 2-inch line that fed those residents water. And it came to Thompson Falls through a damming process that was up on the hill. Well, we still own that property. And during one of the rainstorms, there was some issues with rain and some culverts washed out. So we have an opportunity to improve that area, and we're working with NCLC, the tribe, engineers, Department of Forestry, Department of Fish and Wildlife, and whatever other department that I can't think of at the moment, to kind of move forward with some of those things. But we're taking our time to make sure we do it right. That is a salmon stream that's up in there as well. So if there's an opportunity to enhance that system, make it work better with the guidance of things like NCLC and ODF and W and all those, we have an opportunity. Long term, the city has no plan for that property. It's not harvestable timber. 2007 storm did knock down a lot of the timber, and there was a salvage harvest that the city did, gained them about $20,000. But that's it. It's an unmanaged, unplanned area. So there's some opportunities and conversations to be had in the future here with that. The public safety facilities issue, the fire station, is also still very much alive. Obviously, the bond did not pass, but the underlying problems did not go away. We still have serious fire station deficiencies, police and city hall space needs, seismic concerns, public works facility needs. So the city is preparing a more structured public conversation before deciding what to do next. We're going to try to bake that cake a little bit differently. And so we're trying to learn as much as we can. And so there'll be a town hall that'll be coming up to have some discussions about that situation and to get more information from folks. Because frankly, some of us are still a little perplexed, but we'll figure it out.
So, excuse me, Chad, don't we have OSHA violations on that building?
We've mitigated a few of them,
I mean,
but there
What
are things
happens-
that we can't fix that they would like us to see if it was a new building. But the ventilation issue, the door issue, the turnouts in the fire station, in the exhaust, are all issues we have to fix. And that is part of the OSHA issue.
I mean, so if we never build a fire hall, could eventually say, shut that building
They can
down?
give us willful violations for not repairing what it is that needs to be repaired, especially in those 3 safety areas. And I might be missing one, but I don't think so. The doors, the ventilation, and what was the third I mentioned?
Turnout.
Thank you. The turnout in the exhaust systems and the turnout needs to be repaired. And those are things that we can do. The underlying issue is the building. Walk along the outside of the walls, take a look at it on the west side, and you'll see some things that are a little concerning. There are cracks all the way through and through. Seismically, that building is tough. And that disconnect between people understanding what type of infrastructure needed to happen in order to get a new fire station there, which caused a lot of panic, $33 million, versus trying to fix this one up and to make it last as long as possible. It kind of seems like that's where we're at. I mean, a new building, no matter what, is going to cost you between $5 and $10 million just in the foundation. So we're going to deal with it the best that we can, but we're going to have open communication, and we're trying to learn everything we can on a ton of conversations. And so we want to structure that next conversation to try to elicit as much information as possible and bring the community along a little bit differently. That connects directly to, I think, 4th of July. From the outside, I think most people saw the next morning the town was pretty well cleaned up and back to normal. We had a wonderful street dance. It was great. Kids out there was amazing, and then the adults afterwards were fun to watch. The 4th of July parade went really smoothly. No issues to be had with that. But what you did not see was how close to capacity the city was. And I'm not sure how this really affects the planning commission in making the decisions for land use, but I just kind of wanted to make you aware that our our fire department, public works, and volunteers were active from about 7:30 in the morning Saturday until roughly 4:30 in the morning the next day. Police and fire both handled a very high call volume. I think in the fire department, we had 90 calls for service of various fashions in that one day, and police had over 70. It may have been one of, and also Gearhart turns out to be the most busy with law enforcement and fire action of any city in the county. We were busier than Seaside. We had other communities calling us on the radio, both police and fire, but especially police, saying, like Cannon Beach, can we send you help? You guys sound like you're extremely busy, and we were. So from a public safety standpoint, it was, I guess I don't want to overstate it, but we barely held it together, and it became dangerous, and we need to have a serious after action conversation about staffing, communication, crowd control, beach impacts, garbage, public safety facilities, and the state responsibility for what happens on the beach. But yeah, even the counselors, I haven't had a chance to talk to them about what had happened, but the staff here, and we had, well, there was rumors of 20 state police in Gearhart at one point helping us, but there wasn't quite that many, I don't think. We had between 10 and 15 additional officers trying to assist us. The public generally doesn't see that side of it because we clean everything up and make it look normal again, but we were at the limit. So that needs to be a part of future 4th of July planning, and we'll make sure it is. But just want to make you aware. The city is also working on a broader strategic planning. The council is trying to develop a clear direction around maintaining the existing services that we have, including public safety, water infrastructure, reserves, livability, long-term financial stability. That matters to the planning because growth, infrastructure, service levels, and public expectations are all connected. So, we'll just be more plain with you folks about where we're at budget wise, so that when we're making decisions in the planning commission, that can be helpful to you. Water planning is becoming more central to land use decisions as well. The city's working on water rights, as you know. Warrenton water supply coordination. We got a good agreement with the city of Warrenton for a good amount of time for a good amount of water. So that doesn't stress us out at all. Warrenton's been a good partner with that. It is expensive. And you're paying that through your rates. But it's working. So I'll let you know. I haven't heard of the review. Again, they're way behind at WRD, and we're probably 6 months into the time they said they were going to respond to us, and they haven't. And we've been keeping in contact with them to try to get that going as best as possible. USPS mail delivery transition is still active. We're still working with USPS on the Gearhart delivery boundaries, street delivery, cluster box options, service impacts after the post office contract unit closure. It's not strictly a planning commission issue, but it affects the residents. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that was going on. And at the end of this, I can answer any questions. I've gotten some answers back from USPS on some of the things we're asking. This one is we're discussing transient lodging tax and short-term rental tax right now to make up for the budget cap that we have here in Gearhart. Because general fund revenue is not keeping up with cost, of course. And so we're looking at doing that increase, and I've been contacting some of the administration with condo association, and it's put together a group of people so that they're aware of what's going on. But as we look at what we're going to do with these taxes and the revenue that comes in, keep in mind the law change that starts January 1 of this upcoming year. Any new tax that we put onto these is a 50-50 take. So the city general fund could take 50% of it. And then the other 50% has to be used for a visitor type activity, which is a little muddy, and don't ask me anything really particular about that, but my team is working on that with Barry Ilsner and Hammond, our attorneys. So we'll continue to have some communications about that, and maybe somebody would want to get involved. So yeah, I guess the theme is planning and infrastructure and safety. Any questions? That was a lot. I'm sorry.
What's your on? Thank you.
What is the budget gap?
No.
How much is the budget gap?
Less than what we thought it was going to be. Our cash carry forward was better than what we anticipated because we were saving money at the very end. We were taking some measures. So it's, let me guess, around under 200,000.
Okay. And so that's in Seaside, they call it the tourism tax, but we don't really do that here in Gearhart.
It's called the same thing.
Transient lodging tax.
Right. But you call it visitors.
Well, visitors is how we'd have to spend those.
Right.
Whether or not that, so that's not necessarily transient. They are, but
right.
That's the verbiage, yes.
So for example, would that be able to hire more safety personnel for the 4th of July?
No, programs that you already have, things that already happen, those would be difficult to defend the spending on that. So the 4th of July, yeah, it's all visitors, it's all people. Yeah, well, everybody does the 4th of July. That's not something new. It's actually things that are geared specifically to bring people into your town. Maybe some park money could be spent there. Maybe some tools and things that we need. Maybe we could look at grants and things to help businesses in town, right? Develop, get some help, what have you. Maybe it can be to beautify a few areas and that sort of thing, but it is very restrictive and it will be controversial in every move that we make, scrutinized. So BEH, Barry Ilsner and Hammond, our attorneys, happen to be experts in this. So they're going to provide us with some good work to do. And that would probably look like some sort of a committee that would assist us with the spending of those money. And I think that the representation from the hotels, the condos, would be a good idea as well. But we're not sure exactly how that's gonna pan out, but if we have that budget gap. Gotcha.
I served on the tourism committee in Seaside for 10 years, so, their money, and they've got this big surplus because they do marketing and they're more resort than we are, but they do it for things like murals that are being put up. They put things on all the trash cans down in the city. Promoting an event, say someone wanted to do a music event. And I think we've got some of those going. It can be used to help fund those. There are lots of things, if you are creative and the way you present it, that you can use that money for. But the cities, I mean, like Seaside would love to use it for infrastructure or police or fire, just as Gearhart, and they can't really do that. But their flower baskets downtown, that's what it's used for. So that's okay. We can use it to mow the lawn out here. Keep it clean. I was coming north from the south part of Seaside last night when all the emergency vehicles were heading south. And I have to say, there are still people that do not realize that some vehicles got their lights flashing and sirens going. Doesn't mean turn in front of me. It was a little scary. I think I saw 6 go through in a matter of a minute or so, a couple minutes. So much excitement. Sorry, all this you missed out. Okay, are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of questions.
Oh, yes, Eric.
Are you done?
Yes, thank you.
A couple of different things. First off, with regard to the transient lodging tax, the 50% of it, you can use at your own discretion.
Correct.
Yeah.
Plus the tax
Not
that,
part.
plus the
Right,
tax.
well, I
that we
understand
have in
the
place.
entire process.
Right.
I do, and I know the law has changed from 70-30 or whatever to
Right.
50-50.
Right.
So I'm aware of that.
Right. So part of it is there to be used.
Yes, and the original 7% that we have is still
Right.
100% negotiable.
You referring to the city attorney BEH?
Barry Elsner and Hammond.
Are they still just filling in for a vacancy, or have they been
Correct.
now hired as attorneys?
Not officially, but they are our temporary attorney. And we're going to be probably within the next couple of months opening up the RFP process again, and they will be able to bid on it. Barry Elsner and Hampton, in order to say that they were ready to take us, they've also been in a building year. So they've got some older attorneys that have retired. More experienced attorneys that have retired. I don't know if they're old. And some new attorneys that are coming in to fill their gap. And then so they're balancing it out, and they want to make sure that that'll work before they pick us up. So far, I've been pretty pleased with everything. It's not like having one Peter Watts though. That was nice because he understood all the stories and the code. So every time we get into something, there's a little bit more work to get people up to speed with what we're at, but it's starting to happen.
With regard to Thompson Creek, is that going to cost money?
Yes.
Do we have it in the budget?
It depends on where we pull it from. There might be some street money. Generally though, all of our reserve funds are skinny. So
Yeah.
I would say that it's, we're tight everywhere. It's going to strain us, but yeah, we'll be able to figure out how to do the work. Depending on whether or not, when we were initially starting it, they were talking about a $50,000 repair. Then it went down to $10,000, but now there's more state and involvement. And they're still trying to consider, what needs to be done. The cool thing is at the end of it, it's going to be better.
And there might be grants because it's environmental related and.
Yeah, I'm going to look at that as
things like
well.
So
We're going to slow that down a little bit so that we can look at those items.
one last thing, you may not know this, but I just ask you conjecture. Do you have any clue as to why Gearhart was ground zero in the entire county for all?
Yeah, I mean, Seaside's a little bit better prepared. They have a bigger force of people to pull from to be able to, and they're a little bit more contained. They don't have all the driving on the beach and things like that. They know what to expect, and they've got a pretty good system that's down for that. And I think it's a more controllable atmosphere, as ridiculous as that sounds.
Mhm.
That being said, the $4,000 firework ban did not quite work like I think they planned it to, because as soon as the overwhelming numbers come in, there's nothing that you can really do other than maybe reach your hand in, pull one out, give them a 4,000. But there's another, $4,000 fine. But there's another 50,000 people out there that are not going to pay attention to that, and it's just too overwhelming. So.
But were we more inundated by people?
Yeah.
Than other years?
Yeah, we had, yes.
Because I mean, every other year, those things stay the same. It just seems like this year, there's.
Well, there's the
so much
250 year,
worse.
I'll give it the anniversary,
Was that-
250 years was a big deal.
Yeah.
But this has been a growing issue where it seems like we've been sought after for certain types of parties on the beach that are attended by many of the public school kids that are out of Portland. I mean, not all of them, but a large majority, Calvin Gable, Lincoln, Benson, all of them, the word gets out on social media that there may or may not be a rave or a party or a Gearhart takeover. They're calling it on the beach, and that's what on social media it was called, where these kids were prepared and very well equipped to have a good time. A lot of fireworks, a lot of alcohol, a lot of underage drinking, and all of that. And the streets were lined on both sides of Marion with people that were parked, even on the side you're not supposed to park on. And we quickly lost control at that point because we couldn't get those drivers back. We couldn't tow.
Because that's new. We haven't seen that.
No, they were all camping in their cars. We had probably, it felt like, I thought I counted up to about 90 campers. People camping, not campers, a few campers.
Sleeping in the cars.
And at that point, we're not going to move them on. It's too dangerous for various reasons. So that was an issue. The 10th Street Beach access worked okay, but there were 4 and 5 cars deep on the beach. And there was probably 30,000 people out there, from 10th Street to past Sunset Beach. And it got really crazy. It was to one point, to tell a little story, and then we had a call at about 11:30 at night. We pull all of our forces off when dusk hits because it's too dangerous. Okay? So there's, where we've gotten. It's always kind of been like that, but not like this. We got a call for an overdose. A young man was overdosing. And so we had to tactically figure out how we were going to get down to the beach. And to do that, we had to put a convoy together with law enforcement and the fire department because we knew we were going into a war zone. And they got in there, they went, and immediately it started going bad. We kind of circled the vehicles around like wagons. Crowds started coming in. Fireworks started hitting the police cars. And we're talking the major mortars lit, thrown. Then the explosion goes. That's supposed to put it up in the air. Then the explosion goes. And so at the cars, and crowd was coming in. Thank goodness a rave started. A 40-foot bonfire went off. The music and the light show started because I actually had lasers at this thing. And the kids turned around and was like, hey, let's do this instead of, surrounding what was going on. So it was very dangerous. We're still having people that are questioning what they were doing out there, what we were doing out there. And I can't put my team in that position again. It was that dangerous. We had state police assisting us. We had the county doing everything that they could.
This isn't the time and place for this conversation, but I can't imagine what you can plan for to do different next year.
Yeah, it's going to have to be some big decisions made by some government entities to figure out how to help slow down and quiet. We'll do everything we can, and we're going to start planning it a lot earlier. We thought we were ready, but not for that.
Like you're just overwhelmed.
Well, is it possible to get the state to shut down all the beach accesses?
Great question. That's one we put into the idea bucket. We're not advocating for anything. We're just putting ideas in there. shut down 10th Street, well, then where do they back up and walk into? You know, we're gonna consider that, you know, human movement is a study in school on its own. Right, so how do you move that? How do you advertise in advance? Do we shut down the beach? Do we tell them that we're not gonna go on the beach no matter what, and the state's gonna have to take over? And how would they do that, short of National Guard? I've been around here for 30 years. I love the 4th of July. I love everything it's about, but this was different. Yeah, so we'll work on it. But, you know, I don't think most of Gearhart understood it. They didn't see that. Except for the people that were at the front. There's a lot of good videos online if you want to see them.
I was down the beach at Seaside Saturday, Sunday. There were fewer people down there in Seaside. The safety zone was almost twice as big as it's been, where people can actually go in to see the fireworks. So everyone was shoved to the north, and the cabanas that they put up were like huge 3-bedroom cabanas. But it's mostly families. It's so much families down there. There were not as many people down the beach on a Saturday, 4th of July, as I've seen in the past. A lot of them are day trippers. But it's just different. But part of the thing was, Cannon Beach, they don't allow fireworks because they have their puffin thing. They created the puffin thing, actually. No fireworks came before the puffin thing. And in the Seaside with the 4,000 fine, no, it doesn't make a lot of difference, but for some of them, it'll make a difference. So the next place to go to is Gearhart. So, but I would say there were probably 20,000 down at the beach in Seaside. It was not as big a crowd as I've seen before.
Some of the highlight videos are pretty incredible in Seaside as well. I think later it gets pretty busy. But
Well,
yeah,
I was down.
they had a controlled good time. It seemed like,
It
for the most
was
part.
pretty controlled. Part of it being because they were so tightly packed. You
But-
really couldn't be having the big bonfire. You're going to set your cabana on fire and the next door neighbor's cabana. I mean,
Some of the differences is through agreements, both Cannon Beach and Seaside have certain rights on the beach
right.
that we do not. And that was established a long time ago and held to where they could, you or the city council could not put an ordinance in place that would affect the beach.
Well, Seaside
It's our jurisdiction.
has had discussions this last.
Yeah, they did a good job.
About not having fireworks, and it's a discussion every week.
Did a
So,
good job and they were helpful to us.
all right, anything else?
Thank you, Chad.
Garrett, are you there? Do you have report? Do you have anything for your staff report before we get to your presentation today?
Just really briefly, a heads up that we'll be having a meeting in August, our regularly scheduled meeting, and it looks like we'll be considering 2 subdivision applications and a hearing in August. And I'm looking forward to going over those with you when the time comes. And that's it from my updates.
Okay, all right, Garrett, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Commissioners, does anyone have a report? Yes, great.
I think the only thing just fast is I've completed my required state meeting training as well as ethics training, and I've been going through the land training they have online as well.
Awesome. Okay, I didn't know it was even required.
Jane,
Yes,
I have a question.
yes,
The scheduled meeting in August is the same day I'm going to be having cataract surgery, and it has to be excused now. I may be able to attend via Zoom, but I don't know yet.
well, the best thing to do, Emerson, is to send an email to Angelina. We can excuse you. If you are here, we won't do the excuse.
That would be good.
Okay, so if you just send an email
Okay.
and then it will put on the agenda and we will ignore it if you can see us or just listen to
Well, I
us.
have one good option.
Byron will be. Okay, are there any comments from our visitors tonight that are not related to the agenda? Have anyone, Chad? This is your turn. You need to-
No, thank you. We're running.
I can't see
I
because it
think
just
we're,
names. Okay, so we have no public hearings, we have no unfinished business, we have no new business, but we have information and discussion, and this is your time, Garrett, so take it away.
All right, thank you. So I want to go over a proposal that staff has on a project that we think that we should work on with you in the remainder of this year, following those subdivision hearings in August. And the project builds on a couple of discussions we've had in the last several months to do some limited zoning ordinance updates that are aimed at alignment with new state laws and rules and cleaning up some issues that lead to like lack of clarity for property owners and staff. So the project doesn't involve like creation of like new realms of policy. We're envisioning this being a pretty limited scope project, although it involves 3 distinct topics, and I'll review those for you briefly. Before I forget, I wanted to mention that the report that goes along with this item, I meant to include some links, hyperlinks that you could click on to read more if you wanted to. And I was trying to keep the report really brief, and I'm interested when we get to discussion if anyone tried to use those and if they worked. And I think we'd be interested in redistributing that in a way that works. If not, the link that I was using off the Planning Commission packet had a dead link or 2. But in any case, this project would essentially do zoning ordinance updates primarily focused on Article 13, administrative provisions, and also the article for the beach and dune overlay zone. There's 2 topics that would mostly center on Article 13. Our procedures and administrative provisions. The first one is in response to new state rules related to Goal 5 cultural areas. And the second topic that would primarily center on Article 13 is related to housing laws and housing related rules that have been adopted by the state. We reviewed some of the housing related matters in April of this year at our April meeting. The Goal 5 cultural areas topic is a new one for us at the Planning Commission. So I'll start reviewing that. In December of 2025, the Land Conservation and Development Commission adopted new rules that they had been working on in the prior year. And the rules essentially will require 2 sort of new broad areas of action for local governments. One is that when an application comes to the city that will lead to ground disturbance, and it's an application that already requires some form of public notice. Think conditional uses, variances, partitions, subdivisions, rezones. If we get an application like that, and it's predictably going to lead to ground disturbance, the new state rules require us to provide a unique notice to selected Indian tribes that the application has been received and is complete. And then the rules require us to respond to any comments that we receive from those tribes in a specific manner and to include those comments and our responses in the record of the decision. It's really a procedural requirement. So it doesn't introduce new approval criteria to any type of application. But the intent of it is for communication with tribes, between tribes and local governments to improve and to offer tribes a meaningful opportunity to comment on land use applications and have those comments considered in decisions. So that's the first one, the first part of the rule. The second part that requires some different local action going forward is that tribes will be able to propose that certain sites, they're free to propose any site they want to, that certain sites should be considered culturally significant sites under Oregon State Goal 5. And when local governments receive an application for a site to be considered culturally significant, the local government will have to follow a Goal 5 comprehensive plan amendment procedure to complete certain analyses and consider an update to the comprehensive plan to officially designate that site as culturally significant. And along with that, protect the culturally significant resources in some way or another. And so, again, no new substantive requirement in terms of like these sites are already known and you have to protect them in this way, like we do with floodplains, for example. Just new procedures that we're going to have to follow. And the rules say that local governments can implement them directly from statute and don't have to amend their zoning ordinances or comprehensive plans to get ready for that. It goes into effect January 1st, 2027. But DLCD staff, including our North Coast field representative, Brett Estes, and the Goal 5 specialists, are recommending that local governments at least review their codes and probably need to make at least some kinds of updates. One, to signal to staff to not forget to do the notices when there's a ground disturbing application that comes in. And two, to make sure that we have some processes in place to handle a proposal for a new culturally significant site. And along with that, having some way to charge a fee to make sure that we can recuperate the costs of that, rather lengthy process of considering one of those proposals. So that's the first topic that, we think we're not sure if we're going to get applications or how often this is going to come into play, but we take DLCD staff's recommendations seriously. I don't think we want to be caught surprised with a culturally significant site application with no procedure or fees in place, where we have to handle a comprehensive plan amendment. And so that's something that we want to deal with proactively. And again, that'll be focused on Article 13, our administrative provisions. The second topic outlined in the memo is related to the beach and dune overlay zone. And there's some points of clarity that we want to bring forward for your consideration that we think will make it easier and clearer for staff to implement the overlay zone and easier for property owners to read it and know what they're allowed and not allowed to do. And so that I'm actually going to leave that one as relatively brief, but we'll get more into that when we have our workshop later in the year. And then the third topic is related to housing laws. And that again is, we covered a variety of housing topics in our April meeting, but the one that this zoning code update would focus on is related to procedures and the idea that there's certain kinds of land use applications that state law has said are really supposed to be processed with, I guess you could say, less process and fewer standards than we have been processing them with typically in Gearhart. So partitions and subdivisions are really supposed to be type 2 administrative review decisions where staff issue a public notice and there's opportunities for the public and neighbors to provide written comments. And then a decision is made in a staff report notice of decision without a public hearing. And there would still be appeal opportunities after the decision is made. But that's the area of housing law that we'd be focusing on in this update, is aligning procedures with state guidelines and laws and rules. And again, that's related to Article 13 primarily. And so normally I wouldn't propose like a 3-topic zoning ordinance update covering the breadth of those issues, but we are going to be trying to keep the changes relatively minimal and targeted. And again, they're intended to just implement state rules and provide clarity rather than create new policy direction. And so we think that we can do this in a relatively efficient manner. We're proposing to give City Council a briefing on these topics in August, and then come back to you for a workshop at your regular meeting in September, where we would have the proposed ordinance changes drafted for your review and discussion. And depending on how that goes, potentially having a hearing as soon as October of 2026. And then moving into, a city council hearing and adoption, later in the year or in the early new year. So that's the overview. There's one other topic that we discussed earlier in the year. It was really sort of a catch-all, which was broad-based review and clarity updates for the whole zoning ordinance. And given some of the issues we've experienced with the beach and dune overlay zone in the last year, the January 1st, 2027 implementation date for Goal 5 cultural areas, and that we're getting, we're starting to get more partition and subdivision applications. These seem like 3 topics that will have some like immediate relevance and impact on how you work with the code, how staff works with it, and how Gearhart citizens experience it. And so I think there's going to be yet more work to do after this, but this seemed like an appropriate sort of project size package to work on together in 2026. So I'll leave it at that for now, and happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have a question? Jennifer?
Gary, could you describe again what would prompt either a revision or addition to the comprehensive plan?
Sure. So DLCD has recommended that we review the comprehensive plan related to the Goal 5 cultural areas issues, and see if there's a need for some kind of supportive, sort of broadly supportive policy statement that backs up the zoning ordinance updates that we'll do on that topic. And also to review and see if there's any specific procedures that contradict or are incomplete in relation to what's in the state rule. For example, I haven't done this yet, but perhaps if the comprehensive plan said had policies on how itself, how it should be updated itself. Let's say the comprehensive plan says, this is how we update the comprehensive plan. And it only describes a procedure where staff and the city can propose updates, but doesn't describe any procedure that includes third parties proposing updates. That basically implies that only the city can propose updates, and that's in contradiction with the new state rule that tribes are supposed to be able to propose updates to designate culturally significant sites. So we'd be taking a look from that perspective. So I'd imagine like limited, sort of broadly supported policy statements in a new section, and checking on the goal 2 procedural statements. And it would be limited to that topic. I don't think that comprehensive plan policy changes would be needed for anything else that we're contemplating in the housing or beach and dune overlay realm. Although we of course have to, that is like one of the first steps is to inventory those and just make sure we're staying on the right side of them. And if there's an issue, we'll bring it up to you.
What is our city's requirement for, does it have to be voted on if we change the comp plan? Does it have to be voted on by someone or the public, or how does that happen?
Yeah, so it's we have a planning commission hearing and a recommendation, and then ultimately it's a city council hearing and then a city council decision, and it's appealable under Oregon's land use laws. So it's city council decision. It's not like a change to the city charter. It's not a public vote or something. I don't know what a change to the city charter would entail, but it's a city council action. Yeah.
So we listen, we make a recommendation, and then it goes to the city council. Yes, Eric.
Garrett, with regard to, for example, to these 2 subdivisions you're going to be bringing forward, will our work on that be impacted by SB 1537? Will our procedures be any different than they would have been before that law was passed?
No, we're following our zoning ordinance's direction, which is that subdivisions require a planning commission hearing. And so is an important point of clarification. There seems to be room within state law for us to keep having hearings before the planning commission on subdivisions and partitions, and to have the planning commission be the decision-making authority. So I don't think that we're violating state law by doing that. However, the decisions, at least in regards to housing on subdivisions and partitions, when housing is involved, the standards have to be clear and objective. We have to limit our decision making to clear and objective standards. And that really undermines the whole purpose of having a planning commission make the decision, which is that, there's decisions that there's enough discretion and judgment involved that it really shouldn't be up to staff for some decisions. And the decision needs to include like deliberation and a public hearing where evidence can be presented and alternative evidence can be presented and weighed all out in the open in that setting. And that's not how housing related subdivision and partition decisions are supposed to be made anymore. We're just supposed to stick to the clear and objective facts. And since that's the case, that is a matter that, as a matter of principle, you could argue is more appropriate for staff to handle.
Answer your question, Eric? You didn't like the answer?
It's not that I don't like it, I'm just confused though. Like, are we supposed to deliberate or are we not supposed to anymore?
Yeah, on a housing related subdivision application, there just isn't much room for deliberation. Like the staff report will, increasingly look more like a checklist. And to the extent that there is something to deliberate over, like, and if you denied the application or imposed a condition of approval on the application that was the result of deliberation, there's a decent chance that that deliberation was not on a matter that is clear and objective. Otherwise, there'd be nothing to deliberate about. I know it's difficult to.
All right, so I think I get the picture that you want to have the hearing, you want to have the whole thing discussed, but we don't really get to decide, so to speak, in the sense that it's already, the ordinances are already decided for us, kind of.
Yeah,
The issues are already decided for us, but we get to hear about it.
The public can see.
And the
Yeah,
public,
and
yeah, we all do, right, but we're not really in a decision-making position as much as we were.
right. I mean, you are the decision in August. The decisions in August will be yours on those subdivisions. But increasingly, like, if you exercise discretion and judgment, your decision is increasingly appealable these days. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. I thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Garrett? No? Hey, you're off easy. So you will present to the city council in August, then a planned workshop where we'll discuss what you have, unless the city council has something you don't foresee at this point. And then we'll have the public hearing where we can hear from everyone all at the same time, so everyone gets an equal chance in October. Is that correct?
Yeah, as soon as October. We'll see how it goes with city council and we'll see how the workshop goes with y'all in September. But
okay.
Yeah.
So that it's best to have a public hearing for everyone at one time, so everyone gets an equal chance.
Okay, that is fine.
Okay, all right. So, thank you, Garrett. What else
Thank
do we
you.
have on our agenda? Concerns of the commission. Are there concerns? My concern, I just put down fireworks. That was my concern. Gearhart needs to do something about the fireworks.
The interesting piece is that we did have firework complaint one. That was it.
That's because we were all told, unless they were shooting at you, to not call them.
It was an interesting statistic. I was like,
They were not shooting, we just moved away on that.
yeah.
Okay, we have no questions for the land use attorney because we don't have it. It is 7:57. No, it's 6:57. Sorry, Angelina, 6:57. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all. Thank you, Garrett. Well done, people.
Chad, what is the fine Gearhart for illegal fireworks?
Good boy.
Flies are exploding. I do not know what the ORS is. It's somewhere